Whitefish, or dikameg, which is the traditional name for whitefish, is a very important fish to the Saugeen community, very important culturally, for sustenance, economically, and the fishermen of Saugeen have voiced that they're worried about the decline that they've been seeing in Lake Huron, and more so worried about what's causing the decline. The Bima'azh Project is based on all these fishermen and community members' concerns for this fish that's has been very important to our people for like time immemorial. Ani Bojo Ruth Duncan Nishnakaz Nashing Ojibway. Hi, my name is Ruth Duncan. I'm from Nashingaming First Nation, and I'm part of the Martin clan. I just finished my first year of university at Trent University in Indigenous Environmental Science, and I'm an intern for Collective Environmental.
So I'm Dr. Mary-Claire Buell. I'm a consultant, and I founded Collective Environmental in 2018. So all my work works with Indigenous communities around environmental issues.
My name's Ryan Lauzon. I'm a fisheries assessment biologist. I run our fisheries assessment program at the Chippewas of Nawash unceded First Nation. We're seeing that there's a lot of changes going on in the lake, whether it be quagga mussels, which are basically these invasive mussels that came in through ballast water, and essentially they are very, very good at filtering out food from the water, and they're so good at it, and there's so many of them that they've actually captured a great deal of the food that's available within Lake Huron, which means that there really isn't a whole lot of food left over for the larval lake whitefish, for example, to eat. So the theory is that they're basically starving to death and there's no new fish able to enter the fishery. And along with that, we have fish stocking going on for the recreational fishing that is also placing additional strain on the food availability in the lake, and just all kinds of, you have climate change, you have development going on along the shorelines. There's just so many things going on that we believe are having a negative impact on the fishery. And in order to better understand the complexities and what's going on, we've been having discussions with the communities that say, you know, what do you think is going on and how do we address this? And one of the knowledge gaps that was identified is just knowing more about what is going on at that critical time when the fish are spawning. That's really where the Bima'azh Project came in, is those discussions we've had with the community and just a desire to learn more about what lake whitefish are doing when they're out there on the shoals, because it's not something that we really know a whole lot about. The community members have knowledge about what goes on, but we don't really have an ability very easily to go down and actually see what they're doing.
Bima'azh, which is Anishinaabe Moen, like there's a lot of different dialects and sort of interpretations of that word. Our team's interpretation was to track or follow along. And so the idea is that we learn from the fish harvesters, from the community, about their concerns and their knowledge of dikameg, and then we take technology like telemetry and underwater robotics like our ROV named Lola, and sort of bring together all those sort of sources of knowledge to better understand lake whitefish, how they interact with their spawning shoals. So the goal was to really demonstrate how can you bring these systems of knowledge together. We often use the two-eyed seeing model to sort of depict that. And so that's what we've been sort of launched into. And so we're hoping to answer a lot of community-based questions about dikameg to give them some clarity on what's going on, but also you know, give some clarity to even the Western scientific community about what's going on, and present it in a way that's not, you know, Western science validating community knowledge or anything, but say, here's all that we know. Here's, you know, if you cover one eye, you only see so much, but if you allow both eyes to see, then you get the peripheral on both sides. And if you can give that whole picture to decision makers or to community leadership, then we can truly make good decisions for the well-being of the fish, but also the communities that rely so heavily on them.
If you've been interacting with these fish since time immemorial, you're going to learn a whole lot about them, and that's exactly what has happened. So that's really where that comes in, and how we've gone about kind of learning more from the community members and receiving direction from the community members about the research projects and guidance on how to carry them out and what the important questions were basically with community meetings. And we've also been doing individual interviews with knowledge holders as well. So it's really kind of multifaceted as far as our approach, kind of taking a number of approaches just with the idea that we're trying to get as much information and direction as we can from as many community members as possible. The information we get from the communities is, you know, that's where we come up with the research question, and is from the community. So we came out with a report that came out of those meetings, and then we just continue to have follow-up meetings. It's not just a one time and done, it's just continued guidance all the way along. And not only that, but when we came up with the receiver design, we would go out and talk to knowledge holders and ask them what they think, and, you know, ask them if we should, where we might need to tweak it, and those kinds of things, right to hiring community members to help us install the receivers, to go out and catch the fish for us, to tell us where we should put the receiver design. It was their decision to put it at the Port Elgin Shoal. So really the whole intention behind this project was to basically deliver it under the direction of the community.
Nawash Fisheries Assessment Program also has this large scale project that has a whole bunch of partners as well, called Together with Gigoyak. And so embedded in that project is a whole bunch of interviews. And so there's that transfer of community-based knowledge through the doing, and then there's the transfer also through these interviews. One of the things about doing research with Indigenous communities is there's a lot of researchers asking to do interviews and this and that. And so that interview fatigue, and it's like, when are they going to see the benefits of all this? So it was important to us to make sure we didn't like have redundant interviews happening. So we sort of, Ryan, the co-PI on this project, is making sure like any questions that we wanted to ask with the Bima'azh Project is embedded in those Together with Gigoyak interviews.
And well, before fish tagging, learning how to tag the fish, practicing the surgery of the fish tagging. When we actually did the fish tagging and receiver deployment, bringing fishermen from the community to assist in that work. And then also where we did place the receivers, we figured that out by having meetings with community members and the fishermen and fish harvesters to figure out what places would be of most benefit and where they had the most concern for dikameg. We have 11 receivers in the water that we deployed, and we tagged 49 adult dikameg. When they go past a receiver, near a receiver, it dings the receiver.
So having 11 receivers all around a spawning shoal, as Ruth said, because you can now triangulate its position. So if 3 receivers pick it up at the exact same time, then you can actually pinpoint exactly where it is. So this is like, now it's like busting open all the information you can get from that ping, because if you know its exact location, if it starts to like, if it only hangs out in one part of the shoal, we can take our ROV to the other part of the shoal that it completely avoided and say, what's there? Why doesn't it like that? Like from a bathymetry map, it looks identical. So we can start to tease out some of those answers. And, you know, there's a lot of thoughts about that in terms of temperature, lunar cycle, invasive species cover, even like substrate. So those are the types of answers we can get by like coupling community-based knowledge, because there's a lot of knowledge about those shoals already, as well as this ROV technology to really investigate understanding that behavior. Well, males and females behave very differently than each other. So we've got the initial maps, and we haven't tested this statistically. And then the use of the shoal seems to we have to confirm this still, but the patterns we're seeing seems to happen at night more. And they seem to really like some of the deep pockets. But a lot of this information, the community, there was the fish harvesters kind of knew that already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we're starting to look through the data and watch how the fish are acting, almost everything that we're seeing is lining up with what the fish harvesters told us was like what we were going to see. So they kind of already knew the results of this, which is really cool. After the telemetry work, we started the underwater remote operated vehicle, which the team had to build it from scratch altogether. And learn it and get comfortable with it. And then once we were comfortable with it, we brought it to the territory, to Saugeen, to start doing workshops with the fisheries crew and community members. This is the like technical part of Lola. So like all her wiring. And when we got the ROV, we basically had to wire all of this on our own and like connect all the wires to the different thrusters and connect all the different sensors.
Yeah.
So it was quite a challenge for us because before we got this ROV, none of us had experience working with robotic stuff. So basically we had to learn this whole robot inside and out by ourselves. But in the end, I think it helped with the project because we have had issues with the ROV and we've been pretty good at troubleshooting and sort of figuring out what the problem is on our own and fixing it because we had to basically build her from scratch. So it's funny, we actually use an Xbox like wireless controller.
It's like you're playing a video game. So there's a clear difference in the crew of who plays video games and who doesn't, because those who do are really good at driving the ROV.
Even when we went out with the crew for our first workshop using the ROV, no one has ever really seen like what the bottom of Lake Huron looks like. And everyone was just so excited to see, like to be able to view and control what we're seeing under the water because we've never been able to see that before. And we had like older workers and younger workers on the boat with us, and everyone was intrigued. Like everyone was so excited to play with the vehicle, like old or young.
Our hope is that, we can demonstrate this through this project. And so we're hoping we can sort of show how do you do this in an ethical way and an equitable way and really have an impact on our relationship with these waters and fishes. So GLOSS, or Smart Great Lakes Initiative, has been huge because that seed money really made this project come into fruition. But we have had to like seek out, things have costed more than anticipated or whatever. So seeking out other funds or other agencies that have really had our backs, like Parks Canada and the MNRF. And so That's been really awesome to have such a huge network of supportive people. GLaDOS is another like incredibly supportive organization. You really have to have a solid community, Great Lakes community behind you. So it's more than just like local community. It's that research community as a whole needs to get behind these types of projects to really make them effective and work. There's Collective Environmental and Nawash Fisheries Assessment Program and Saugeen Fisheries Assessment Program, but then Parks Canada and Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. So the Ontario and provincial government have been providing support. All the outcomes will, go to their decision makers as well. So it's going to have a lot of impact at multiple levels of governance.